all I'm saying by that is I just think it's on the younger generation to change the All-Star game moving forward. Like whatever LeBron did or didn't do, whatever Curry did or didn't do with their All-Star era, that's them. Like Kobe, Magic, they had their era. They did what they did, and it was time for the next time.
And I understood your point. And my point is, if they're not, I still think they have a certain gravity that the young people aren't ready to accept. And I think that they're in a room.
Okay.
When they're in a room, they're still them.
Yeah.
And we're in the room with those other guys. If you want this to change and the younger guys are to do it, personally, get the older guys out of the game. Turn it over to the younger guys.
It's a mutiny. Take them off the ship.
Yeah. I mean, we've watched these guys coast through All-Star games for 10 years.
But
they haven't done it. We don't want to watch it anymore.
To do
this morning on Fox Sports here, and it was kind of odd to me that it would break on Fox Sports, but Adam Silver was on one of their morning shows, the lowest rating morning show, but still they're on Fox Sports. So shout out to those guys, and he broke the news that there will be a format change to the All-Star game. All right, now he says they're still ironing out the details and how it's exactly going to go, but for sure next year 2026 All-Star game will feature USA versus Team World. Now, this is something that we talked about several times. I'm pretty sure that I came up with this idea. I've been talking about it for years, man.
All people on the planet, it was you.
I've been talking about it for years.
thought.
I just thought that this was like just so duh, especially towards where the league is going to and more international prospects, et cetera, et cetera. But the farther I get removed from my, awesome idea, the more I'm like, I do think eventually they're just going to do away with the All-Star game, just like the NFL did with theirs.
Yeah.
Because, I think initially, you will get some USA players to maybe play with a little more juice. But I think what you want, you're not going to get, which is like the animosity. Okay, I'm fighting for my country, and I need to. I don't think you're going to get that out of an All-Star game, and especially from the world guys. I mean, like if you just watch Jokic, and he's the best player in the world by like a ton of accounts, and you just watch him in the All-Star game, like for the last couple of years. I mean, he's putting in negative effort.
Yeah.
Negative effort. Luka is throwing up shots from like the locker room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these guys just don't get it.
Like you can shuffle all the chairs on the deck of the Titanic and it's still going down. Like the only thing that saves this is the best guys giving a shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe if the team loses, they have to sacrifice a player to be murdered at midcourt. Maybe people will care that. I don't know. But unless the top guys care, you're just gonna go through the motions, and everybody below them is gonna react to them.
Do you think they should go to something like the MLB where the All-Star game kind of determines where home field is or home court's going to be?
That would go back to like an original East-West thing.
Yeah.
And
I think that's to me personally, that's been my favorite format.
But a lot of the
honestly, I think they should just get rid of conferences altogether, honestly, and just have the best 16 teams make the playoffs.
I like that.
Yeah, I like
mean,
that. And the other idea is not bad, right? Because especially with the new voting, because a lot of the fans have a major part of voting, like the five starters or whatever. But the coaches, they vote the reserves,
select
pretty much.
reserves, yeah.
And they are getting these guys from winning teams, so that's why like a guy like Trey doesn't make the original roster and whatever.
Well, and like to what you were saying, I'm like in a year when the best guys are really are in title contention,
That's
I can
what I'm
see
saying.
that. But
Right.
I want to be at home for this. That's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
But you got to have guys that are locked in, knowing they're going to.
And
be
all
there.
of those guys, I mean, the top 9-10 teams in the West feel like they have an outside chance at least.
Yeah.
I'll say the top 8 to 9.
But even then, I just feel like it adds a little bit more juice to it. Even what you have in the East, it's like maybe like 5 teams that are in contention. But
no,
if that
2 to 3. Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like it'll give it a little bit more if they're top guys. I mean, in the MLB All-Star game, I feel like it's a little bit more common that you'll see a guy that's on a losing team just because he's putting up big numbers. But in the NBA, I do feel like they do a better job of, putting the best players on the best teams.
Yeah.
So, again, maybe that does add a little bit more to those teams that are, in the bottom part of the East that, hey, maybe if we get this, we win this, we're going to have home court whether we're the number 1 seed or the 7th seed. We saw Miami do it a couple years ago that they were the 8th seed from the
so you're saying
so
if the East win that year, then Miami would have had.
And I don't think Miami was going to win that series anyways. But if they have their first 2 games at home, that that can make that a little bit more interesting.
And I guess if you do say if there's 7-8 teams in the West that really feel like they could be a title, theoretically
that's enough.
Not theoretically everybody on the All-Star team from the West is going to be like, this matters to me personally.
Yeah.
Like you're Trae Young and with the Hawks, if you're even in the All-Star game, it's like I ain't, who gives a shit who's home court? I ain't gonna be there. I'm gonna be in Cancun.
But then he might not see as much game time in the actual All-Star game.
Not true. They cut him out.
And he's not anyhow. I mean, unless, because he's at best he's an injury reserve, and those guys only seen a few minutes.
But this goes to there's a guy, he was doing some podcast and he was throwing crap on LeBron going back to the 2008 Olympics. I don't know if you saw any of these clips, but just that LeBron was just not mature, not locked in, and whatever.
At the Olympics
in 2008, back in the day.
Okay.
His thing, and I don't know where he's relying on. It's Kobe didn't even want to play with him because he kind of thought he's not really locked in. He doesn't take this professionally.
That sounds like.
And it kind of does, but it doesn't. It's LeBron, there's an element to him that kind of he picks and chooses what he cares about, and he kind of slides into roles. And when he thinks he could win, he's all in Superman. When he can, he's kind of you see the effort in a different level. And I don't know. And I mean, here's the point of where I'm going with this is that for basically the last 2 decades, he's been the preeminent guy in the league. Mm-hmm. And when you go to these all-star things, his mentality, his mind kind of is the most important one. Yeah. That's why I thought his Olympic buy-in, him saying, I want to go play in these Olympics last time around in Paris, that set the tone for everything. And when he showed up and was all in, everybody who was there became all in. But to me, it still goes to him and those upper-tier guys that if they show up to an all-star weekend and they have an edge to them and they want to win, we're going to have a great all-star game. But if we can't motivate those guys to do that, it doesn't matter what the format is.
That is a good point. I think another thing, too, that kind of bothers me about not necessarily the older guys like the LeBrons, the KDs and stuff, because they're kind of on their way out, but the younger guys that are trying to, be the face, because you hear that conversation all the time now. That's kind of damn. But, they try to – everybody looks up to Kobe, the Mamba mentality and things like that. But he was a guy that did bring it in the All-Star game. But none of these other guys that are coming up are really, seeming like they want to take the torch and really be that. They seem like it's kind of more following suit.
Yeah. That's more of an era thing. And I hear people talk about that, and they say Kobe, and yes, Kobe was, but everybody in that era. Iverson played really hard. Jason Kidd played hard. So that was an era thing.
But I think, you go back before that. I think, you had Magic Johnson would care about an All-Star game.
Yeah. I think we all can indicate that, the mid 2000s, after the Marbury and all of those guys, that's when the All-Star game became shit. Yeah, so it's
that all. And my point that I was making before, that coincides with LeBron becoming the guy of the league.
But my only pushback on that is, I just hate that we're just making it for one guy's fault. Yeah. Because when I talk about the era, like I said, all of those guys played hard. So if LeBron is that guy, I mean, Curry's been in the same era. So why nobody ever, So that's the thing. It falls on all of those guys, because it wasn't just Kobe out there playing hard. It wasn't just Magic out there playing hard. All 10, 12, 15 guys that played in the game played hard.
I guess my belief in saying this is that when the top guy's gonna go, it makes everybody go.
The guys are still plural. Is LeBron the only guy that's worth a damn in this era?
The point is, when
I think he carries so much more weight.
He carries more weight.
Than,
That's not true.
Than all
does.
these other.
Nah, that's not true.
I think it was.
Curry carries a healthy amount of weight. It's not LeBron and Curry in the weight of the league is not lopsided. It's not
at this point, but giving LeBron's whole career, I feel like he's been kind of like but even in the mid 2000s, like I think it was spread a little bit. The workload as far as like who's carrying the league and who's pushing it was a little bit more evenly spread out. And you can again point to certain guys, Kobe, Tracy, Tim Duncan, Shaq, guys like that were winning or putting up numbers and things like that. But as soon as LeBron was really that guy, he shouldered most of that load for a long time. Now, when Steph Curry came, like he definitely, he took a nice, chunk of that and ran with it to help kind of usher in that era a little bit more. But
yeah,
LeBron
I think
for a majority of his,
I think they shared the face of the league for the past few years. I just think
For
they
sure.
have.
Past
For
few,
sure.
but I
Yeah.
think. But what I'm saying is when this all started to get wonky was when LeBron was the guy.
Yeah.
Miami Heat LeBron. That's 2010, 11, 12, 13,
Yeah.
whatever, that window. Like that's when a lot of this stuff started.
Yeah.
And like again, I do think he's still like the alpha person. And I think that he has that level of respect. And I think that with that comes the responsibility to a degree. And definitely others got to jump in. But I would love to see, and maybe Steph's the guy that's got to go. LeBron, let's not fuck around this year. Let's go do something.
I don't think it's on them. I mean, these are 40.
I mean, yeah, so I think it's
these
on
are
the young
40-year-old.
Yeah, I think
Well,
it's the younger guys
That's
at this
over
point.
with. Yeah, that's over with.
Then I disagree with that because
LeBron may not even make the All-Star game next year.
and maybe
he will just off
May
merit.
not.
well no
Off
if
merit, he's going to.
okay, if what you're saying is true, then they shouldn't be in the All-Star game.
No, I'm saying I said they may not be.
No, but I'm saying they shouldn't be.
If
And
they're not going to change intensity.
If they're no longer the guys that people follow and they're the 40-year-old guys that get to us,
I didn't say that. I'm not sure if you think I said
Well,
that. I'm just saying that first of all, the first thing I said is they may not make the All-Star game, meaning like they may not be good enough to be fucking in the All-Star game. That's number one. But number two, all I'm saying by that is I just think it's on the younger generation to change the All-Star game moving forward. Like whatever LeBron did or didn't do, whatever Curry did or didn't do with their All-Star era, that's them. Like Kobe, Magic, they had their era. They did what they did, and it was time for the next time.
And I understood your point. And my point is, if they're not, I still think they have a certain gravity that the young people aren't ready to accept. And I think that they're in a room.
Okay.
When they're in a room, they're still them.
Yeah.
And we're in the room with those other guys. If you want this to change and the younger guys are to do it, personally, get the older guys out of the game. Turn it over to the younger guys.
It's a mutiny. Take them off the ship.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched these guys coast through All-Star games for 10 years.
But
they haven't done it.
I think
we don't want to watch it anymore.
To do that though, you would have to change the voting completely because again,
I
just
agree.
based off merit, guys like LeBron, Curry, KD, who might not be.
That's not 100% true for various reasons. Number one, older guys get hurt a lot. They change the rules to where you have to play a certain amount of games. So I think that's in play with these older guys. And number two, we've seen participant drops. We've seen a drop from LeBron.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's fair to say
yeah.
we'll see another drop. Like you know what I mean? So I mean, he was third. What was he? Second or third? I think he was third All NBA team this year. I mean, there's no fourth All NBA team. Like he's just going to be off next year. You know what I mean? He's not going to be on it. So, we've seen drops. So I think it's fair to say. Now, I know what you mean. Like, if he played a requisite amount of games and he's at least averaging 17 or 18, the fans are going to say, I want LeBron in.
Sure,
so I 1,000% understand what you're saying there. I'm not dismissing that. So, yeah.
I also think one more thing with the All-Star game and the kind of drop of intensity, just like from, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, further, things were a lot more regional too. So you kind of had pride in, these are the all-stars from, this area. These are the all-stars from this area. We really want to, show them who's better. Now, with AAU circuits and, all the now transfer portal, all these guys have all played with each other, know each other, So I feel like that kind of
there's almost no regional.
Exactly. There's no pride
this
in
this is
the
trying
attempt
to
overcome that.
this is
Yeah,
the
exactly.
attempt to overcome
I agree.
that. So when we look at this now, and Peak and I, we've already pointed out a couple of discrepancies, but just generally speaking, do you guys think that this can produce a good game. Like if you got to replace Kyrie, you got to replace Embiid,
And Tatum.
you got to replace Tatum. Those are the three you have to replace. But other than that, we can foresee this being pretty much the game next year.
Yeah. I mean, Şengün, he might be on this list next year.
Şengün may be there instead of Embiid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It should. I mean, I know we've talked about doing this for a while, and it's been a good idea for a while. But there's no doubt that this was inspired by the Olympics of France, and that the way those games played out and the competitiveness. The NBA in this format is simply trying to piggyback that, to recreate that environment, and hope that that's like lights a competitive spark for people to give a shit.